Hi, welcome. So in the last video, I showed you how to install Anaconda and I hope you've installed it already. If you haven't, just go and check the last video and install Anaconda so that in this video, we are going to look briefly at the interface, Jupyter Notebook in your Anaconda so that we can see what are the functionalities and then we see how we can do some basic arithmetic operations in Python because Python can just be one big calculator for you. So let's just go to the computer and do that. So the first thing is we have our interface here. So I've already created this Jupyter notebook. You can always create it. We saw it in the last video. And most of these are what you'll be using. For example, to run your code here and to create maybe new cells. So if, for example, I have something like 2 plus 2 plus 2 here, I can click on run here, then I'll get the result like this. So I could also add a new cell like this to get more, and then I run more calculations here. But then when I do something like a text like this, which is not Python syntax, and I click on run, I get this error. So the Jupyter Notebook gives you that possibility of using the markdown when you want to write such. So you just convert it to markdown. And then when you run it again, you don't get any error because this is like constant like a text. So markdown is where you'll be leaving your comments. This is a text. This is one of the reasons why it's good for data analysis, because there will be times you want to leave your comments on what you've gotten here, like output. You want to leave a comment here. So, and it'll be using markdown. So if you're used to markdown, which means if you want to write a title, for example, you just do like that, get a space, and then you say this is a title. So if you're used to markdown, you should be comfortable using it. And then if you want a subtitle, for example, we change this to markdown still, maybe a very small title, and then when we run it, okay, let me get that. So give a space. So let's do that again. So let's get that like 4 times, and then we run it. So we get a very small title. So you can run. You can be able to move these cells up and down. So maybe move it up, move it back down. Then you can copy it, copy here, and paste under below. You can cut this, paste it, cut it. So basically, those are the most common things you would use. Here you can see that you have so many things you can do: save as, download as an Python notebook, or as a .py file, or as a PDF. You can edit, copy and paste cells like some of the things we've seen before. Copy and paste above, or paste cells below, or paste and replace, delete cells. You've seen them here. Then you can also toggle your headers here, insert cell above, insert cell below. So the shortcut for this plus is a B. So if you're out here, sure you're out, and you press B, you just keep having the new cells are created here. So that is a shortcut there. And then here you can use it to restart your kernel, or reconnect, or restart and clear output, or restart and run all if you feel like your kernel is blocked. Maybe you feel like something is not working, so you can always restart the whole thing here, and then you run your code again. So these are widgets, and so these are the most important things to use. And as we go along with this series, we'll be doing things together and you'll be learning more. So for now, let us look at the basic mathematical operations in Python so that we can be able to see how Python can be used like a calculator. So I could either leave this as a code and comment the code out so that the Python doesn't read what I'm writing, because you can comment things out several ways, maybe like this, and then I do like that, I run it, there's no error. But if I remove that comment in front, I get that error. So I could also just comment it with a, just leave it like a doc string here, just print it like a string so that it doesn't get any judgment, which is what we are going to see when we start looking at strings. I could run it like that, then you just print out the string, but then there will be no major error. So let's just leave it like this for now. We could as well keep it as a markdown completely and just type our what we want to type there. So for now, just leave it like that, and then we would say the first things we'll start looking at is the plus. So the plus stays like the plus that you expect. Plus equals to addition in Python, and same as in Excel. Minus equals to subtraction. So if you want to subtract two things, subtraction, same as in Excel, same as in SQL. Then multiplication sign is the same for SQL, Python, and Excel. So the difference now starts with the division. So in Python, there are two types of divisions. There is this one and this one. So there's this one is so if I go down and I press like this, so this is the normal division, and it actually returns a float. So we are going to look at this when we get to numbers. Just know that Python has two divisions for now. Returns a float, and then this is the floor division, which returns an integer. So we are going to look at these two number types when we get to numbers, because Python has two types of numbers, floats and integers. So if you divide like this, you get a float as the output. If you divide like this, you get an integer as the output. So this one is peculiar to Python. It's not found in Excel. So now we have this, which is just for you to do some modular division. So it returns a remainder, returns a remainder of a division. So if you say 7 divided by 5, you're going to get 5 remainder 2. So what it will return will be the 2, which is the remainder. So just some modular mathematics. So then now another thing, Python is different. So this is your exponentiation. So this is like something raised to the power 2 squared. So you would have thought maybe you would have written it like this, 2 raised to the power 2, but no, we are writing it like this, 2, this is raised to the power 2 in Python like this. So this double star tells Python you want to do 2 raised to the power 2, which is equal to 4. So that is exponentiation. So I hope that is fine. And then if you want to talk about augmented assignment operator, so if you say x equals to x plus 10, you can easily give it a shorthand, which is the augmented operator. Just took a plus equal to 10. Same as if it was a minus here, x minus 10, you can do the minus here, minus 10 here. So it's just something that we'll look at as we go deeper, but it's just good to know that there's a short way. If you see it in a code written like this, this is what it actually means. So x on itself multiplied by minus 10. So x and then x here minus 10. So that's just an augmented assignment operator. So now let us look at now some of the calculations, some of the things that we can do. So let's just go ahead and see that. So the first thing is we could do a 2 plus 2 like we've seen there. So we can add two things, and we have the option of either using print. So if you use print, this is like the standard way, because if you are using like your .py file in VS Code, you need to add this print here. But let's not go into too much detail. Let's just say you can either print like this in a Jupyter notebook or just straight like this, it understands that when you run this, you want to print it. But maybe if you go do it somewhere else like PyCharm, VS Code, when it's not an IPython notebook, you might get an error. So if you want the full writing, it is supposed to be in full like this, print 2 plus 2. But Jupyter Notebook gives the shortcut, accepts these two, like print, like as if you wrote print. So same thing here, when we did this, it was accepting like a print. So 2 plus 2, you're adding two things. You can also subtract here 2 minus 2, or 4 minus 2, 4 minus 2, 4 minus 2, and you run it, you get 2. So you can also multiply 2 by 5, 2 by 5, so you get 10. Then you can also say 2, maybe 2, 3, 3, 3. Let's see now the divisions, divided by 5. You run it, you're going to get 466.6. So it leaves you with a decimal. So let's say you took something like even 2000 divided by 5, it still gives you 400.0. This is what we are saying, that it leaves you with a float. We are going to go into more details. So just think of a float like a number with a decimal, while an integer doesn't have a decimal. Like in this case, if I said 20,000 divided, that's the double, the floor division, and I run it, I don't get that 0.0. Even if I take the 233, when we know clearly this should always leave a decimal behind, and run it, it doesn't, it just, the decimal, it ignores anything after the decimal. So this is the floor division. There might be times in your code when you need this, as we are going to see, and there might be times in the code when you instead need just this straight division. So we are going to see that. So now another thing you can do, like we said, if you take 7, then you use this 5. So we expect that the answer will be a 2, because 7 divided by 5 in modular arithmetic is 1, you remainder 2. So it gives you the remainder as the output here. And then if you want to look at the powers now, 4, then we do it like that. So we do 2, we run it, we get 16. So remember, if you're an Excel user, you might have been thinking this is what we're supposed to do, and when you run it, you get DC. So you need to get it right like this, run it, then you get your 16 there. So this, if we say, and we're going to look at variables, and then we are going to show you how to use some of these augmented operators in subsequent videos, when we start storing values to a variable and then being able to modify the variable value. So this, you can see Python can be a big calculator for you to be able to do your multiplication, your division, your subtraction, power, and everything that you do with a calculator. And then it is important to note that it follows the, if you were used to tell us BODMAS in high school, right in primary school even, we used to talk about BODMAS. So different countries call it different names, but we talk about brackets of division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So it follows that order. It tries to take off the brackets first. If there were brackets here, it takes off the brackets first. Maybe you did something like 2 raised to the power that times, you know, something, maybe 2, 3 plus 3, 3 plus 4. So it tries to take off the brackets first, then takes off the exponential, goes to multiplication, division, then before it does the addition, or so it first has to take off this bracket, resolve this one, then do the multiplication, and if there was another addition here, it's going to do these 2 last, get this plus this one. So it follows this. In here we call them BODMAS, brackets of division, multiplication, and addition and subtraction. So This is just a big calculator for you. So I hope you've been able to get a view of how to use the Jupyter Notebook interface and also be able to use basic arithmetic operations in Python. So see you next video. Wish you good data luck.